This is a game in the AMX CDC, the French medium premium tank on Karelia, and we'll talk about a number of different things, including some changes that have been made to Karelia, mostly in the way that this north area operates. The south part of the map is still the most important part because if you control this hill, you get good firing lanes and spotting lanes on a good portion of the map, whereas you don't quite get the same sort of thing from the north. So it's still important to go to the south. And when I look at a lineup like this, our lineup has a little bit more speed, especially the Type 59 comes this way. They've got an STA, which is a little bit slow, especially relative to the CDC, and a couple of light tanks. And so what I'm looking for as I come around over on this side is what gets lit, what intel do we get, and how aggressive can I be as far as taking that hill, because I do know that it is going to be important for us. And so as we head this way, I always, we always say you got to look and see what your team is doing. Both of the light tanks are coming around with me. The T-34-100 is coming around with me. Our Type 59 is going the other way, but given the fact that their lineup does not have a whole lot of speed, this is probably more than enough here to push forward here, depending on what we see as we turn this corner. So we see that they have a leopard here, and then so we pretty much have a choice now. The choice is always either to end up going over here, and this is the same thing if you watch the replay review that we did just last week. You never want to drive, you don't want to hug this hill as you drive up here because it's an arty lane coming down here. You want to drive as far forward as you can and then come up in order to avoid that arty lane, because really the artillery can hit basically from anywhere from in this hill to a lane that comes around through kind of about halfway between us and that tree right there, and pretty much once you get out of that, you're safe from artillery. And so the choice is to either go into this position right there, or given the fact that we know that they have a slow team and we haven't spotted anything yet, right? The T-37 hasn't been lit over here, which suggests that he's not coming this way, and the STA-1 might be just a little bit too slow. And so we have a decision to make. And so you'll see what I did was I crossed over here, and now I'm making that decision as far as which way to go, and that decision will ultimately be that since we haven't spotted anything here, and since I know that they have a slow team, I know that I can push this leopard here. And it's a situation where all the way up until right about here, right, I have, if all of a sudden a bunch of tanks appear right there, then I can just stop and just sort of back up here. But if I don't, then what I can do is I can just push around here and take this guy out, right, and which immediately secures us the hill. And so we don't really have a whole lot of intel about what's going on the rest of the map. You always want to look and see what your guys are doing. So that Type and that M6 are going on that other side. But we've got most of our team over here. We don't have a whole lot in the middle of that T-150. And so we're kind of trying to figure out like what this ELC is going to spot. And we're keeping an eye on what part of their team they sent forward there. But it's not super big concern for us because we do know that we probably got lit by something in the swamp there. So a bunch of our team is back here, but we have enough up here that it's going to prevent them from moving forward easily. And this is a situation where you can be a little bit patient because they're not really pressuring us on this north side quite yet. And we don't have a whole lot of intel, but we do control the best area of the map, so we just want to see what can actually develop from over here. And essentially the feeling that you get from this team is that they're mostly camping, right? Because this OI is the furthest person forward on this side, and that is not a very fast tank, so there's not going to be a whole lot on that side. So it seems like there's a lot camping because we also know that there's not a whole lot over here, right? They got a couple of their guys here and they moved that T-29 forward that died, but otherwise, there's basically not a whole lot. So whenever you have a team that's camping like this, you just want to sort of pick them off, like where that ISU is at and different positions that you can light. And this is where the light tanks can be extremely useful. But otherwise, and again, one of the benefits of this hill is that you can get pretty good shots on the rest of the map, which is what we're looking to do here. And unfortunately, our guys on this north died, right? And so I always look at this when there's a weak side like this, right? They had 2 tanks there and literally, you know, 11 tanks on the other side of the map. And so when you're the 2 tanks on one side of the map, you want to play that a little bit more conservative. You want to control those vision lanes, like, so you'll come over here to spot these guys coming in, maybe get some free damage coming in, but you don't want to push out like that necessarily, especially into a team that's camping. You don't want to push out with just 2 guys like that. You want to be you want to be a little bit safer. But I always look at that, and you know, this goes back to this idea where we talk about a lot in the stream, where we really want to win one side before we lose the other. And so we've essentially lost this side now. And so whenever that happens, I always look at the time. So there's about 12.5 minutes left in the game, right? And so I know like this OI is slow, so even if the OI just drives straight towards the cap, it's going to take them a while to get there. These guys are all mostly campers, right, because we know that the OI was the furthest guy forward, and so that's something that we need to keep an eye on as far as the time, because they're going to be able to come in through that side. We've got most of our team over on this side, and they're actually moving up now. So what we want to be able to do is we want to be able to clear out this area before these guys can shift over to actually reinforce, and we'll also want to keep track of the time. And for some reason, their STI is pushing up right through the middle. So, when in Rome, shoot some Romans. Alright, and that STI is now down, which is good for us. And our team is a little bit timid though. Like, we need to be able to push these guys on this side, and they haven't been able to yet. We've got a Tiger 2 that's moving a little bit forward here. And again, so remember, this is something that we say a lot in the stream as far as defending Karelia. If you're going to play this south as the weak side like their team did, right, their guys are in the right position. You don't want to be up on this corner like where this Tiger 2 is at, because then we have all these advantages, right? If they're back where they're at, this is a good position to be in, because see where this Tiger 2 is at? He can get hit by all of these guys back here. He can get hit by artillery from back here. And so if you're this Tiger 2, if you're somebody that's pushing across this area, you don't want to be in this spot right here. It's just the enemy has all the advantages. You need to be able to push that area right there. So our Tiger 2 is moving forward, but most of our team is still pretty slow. These are guys that are generally afraid to get shot. But our Tiger 2 is far enough forward that he's going to take some attention from artillery and whatnot. So I'm going to be okay to push here. And so all I'm going to do here is just get a simple turret break. Right, and I know that they got a bunch of guys back here, but they haven't shifted over quite yet. And then all I'm going to do is turret break him and get safe. Right? And turret break just basically means that you get behind or to the side of a tank, which makes it difficult for them to defend both sides, right? Because either I get shots on his rear, or these guys get shots on his rear. I get shots on the back of his turret, or these guys get shot. So somebody's going to have good shots here. And you'll see that my positioning, I basically put myself under this hill here, which basically protects me from the rest of the map and allows me to continue to shoot these guys. And it's now about 11 minutes into the game, so 90 seconds have passed since we've lost this north area here. So that's something that I need to keep in mind as well, because I don't see these guys shifting over super fast right now. And then so one of the things that this is a nice game because it all of the things that we say over and over again as stream mantras is on display in this. And the idea is not only just that you got to win one side before you lose the other, and we lost the other side, but the idea is that you got to be willing to defend. Winners try to defend. And so even though we're the furthest person forward on our team on the map, right, we're the guys that are closest to the cap, right? You see the rest of our guys are still moving forward, right? But our base is completely undefended. It's now been, a little bit over 90 seconds as far as the last time we had contact on this north here. None of these guys have been let sense. So we don't know what the position of any of these guys are at, and especially the T-37 is fast enough to get over there. The OI is still pretty slow, so he's not going to get over there. So even though I'm the furthest person forward, I'm going to start heading back, because I understand that it's important to be able to defend, and that it's just been too long for us to mess around, other than getting bad shots. And so the nice thing is that our artillery did get out of the base. The not so nice thing is that none of our team actually went back. And so even though it's not always the glamorous thing to do, you need to recognize when the possibility of needing to defend is important. Because it's entirely possible that I go back here and all of their guys just return to their base and they're just sitting there to kill our guys. And if that's the case, then so be it. But what you don't want is for all of your team to be alive and for you to still be capped out. And so we see that at least the T-37 is here. And so again, the nice thing about controlling the South Hill is that they can shoot a lot into this area over here as long as we light. And so we do want to get some early pressure on this T-37 because we don't know what else is going to be behind him. Although apparently the OI is behind him. But the OI is not going to be able to get here for a while. And the 25/2 is here. So we know that there's 3 tanks here, at least, right? And so hopefully these guys over here will be able to get some shots. And our SU takes out that T-25, and then I miss the T-37. And the only thing I need to make sure is that I don't get shot by the OI. I missed the T-37 again. Okay, and so it's important to be able to defend that, at least to light it for your guys that are sitting over here. And then now we just need to deal with the OI, and then we should be able to take out the rest. So he's basically in that same position. And when you're on that ramp, again, these guys over here can shoot you pretty well. So the only thing that I need to make sure is that I don't get hit by artillery. And we see that an artillery shell lands on that rock right in front of me, which suggests that at least one of their artillery is out of the base. Or has really bad aim. So all I need to do is light this guy. I don't need to get shots on him per se. I just need to make sure that he stays lit, and our guys that are up here should be able to shoot him eventually. And then I just want to make sure that I'm safe as well. Our guys now, you know, it's... So when I was over in this position, it was at about 11 minutes left in the game. And so about 3 minutes later, they've now approached the position where I was at. And then this is just about being patient. In theory. Okay. And in the meantime, we've basically cleaned up their base. You'll notice that their guys did not shift over to that side to stop our guys over there, which is an interesting choice. And then it's just a matter of clearing out the rest. I know that at least one of the artillery is up in this area over here. I presume that one of the artillery is up in that area over here. Alrighty. Oh, I'll grab this more. Alrighty, now we're done. Okay. So again, the important thing is in the early game I pushed over here, and then at this point I had a decision to make as far as whether to push the Leo or not. I know that they have a slow team, and I know that they weren't pushing this corner, so I went and killed the Leo and secured this area over here. Again, it's important to be safe defensively, particularly from artillery shells when you climb this hill. So you don't want to climb it, you know, close to this side. You want to climb it closer to that side. something to keep in mind. And then once you control this hill, you get pretty good shots on the rest of the map. Their team was pretty campy, which plays into our hands, because when you have good map control, you'll notice that like we got pretty good shots into the base, like on that ISU and things like that. So even though that we lost that north early, we were still able to trade very well in terms of taking out their base. And then all we have to do is just push these guys right here. And remember, especially if you're on a fast tank, a lot of times all you need to do is turret break them. And you know, so basically I moved over here, which allowed us to take out that KV5 rather easily from a relatively safe position. And then it's really just a matter of recognizing that we've already lost this area here, that there's a potential for us to get capped out, and then to make sure that you go back and defend. You should always feel great shame if you're winning the game but then you lose to a cap out. You got to be able to get back, and especially if you're in a faster tank, you need to recognize that and plan that for your team, because this team was not an entirely bright team, because they just kept sort of creeping forward here slowly. They didn't do anything purposefully at all, which is a big problem. And so potentially we could lose that game if I don't go back to defend, right? If they get 2 or maybe even 3 guys on cap, then that's a huge problem for our team. So it's important to recognize, both in the scope of the sort of overall gameplay, okay, we've lost this north flank before we won this south flank, and the fact that all of our team was sort of creepers and they just kept creeping forward, and nobody was actually defending the base from this entirely open flank where they could just drive in. So I mean, for example, that OI that we know was over here, and when they were engaging with our Type 59, the next time that he was lit, he was all the way over here, right? And so we didn't have a whole lot of vision control. And if you can't spot, you know, a Japanese heavy tank, then you're not doing a very good job of actually looking, because they're not the most stealthy of creatures. So it's just something that you always want to keep in mind in terms of when you think about positionally playing the game. Oh man. Here's where I would normally bring up the stats, but then I just realized that I forgot to upload the replay, so we're not going to talk about stats. But the idea is that we did do a good amount of damage, mostly just, you know, against tanks that weren't shooting at us, which is always the best sort of damage to be able to get. You know, we were able to get behind the KV5 and put him in a difficult situation. We were able to get a lot of free damage off of this hill, and then we were able to get some damage off of these guys in the base. So that's something to keep in mind. So anyways, I hope this is helpful, both for playing Karelia and also for managing sort of your time in terms of, okay, we lost this flank at this time, so therefore, you know, I have X amount of time in order to go back and check the base if we don't actually have any base defenders. That sort of thinking has to come into play when you play these games, because this is a game that we won fairly handily, but yet it's something that we very easily could have lost. So I hope that was helpful, and thanks for watching. Alrighty, so if we look at the stats, here we go. Now without the game, but whatever. So one of the things I wanted to point out is it's not like our team vastly outperformed their team or anything like that. We were helped certainly by the fact that they had a pretty campy formation, but our team did not trade super well still. And again, the thing that I wanted to sort of get at is that even though we were the ones, you know, dealing a lot of free damage in terms of, you know, sniping from the hill and things like that, it's still important for us, even though we're dealing damage, to also be concerned about winning the game and to go back and defend the base. And again, as I noted when we were playing the replay, is that, you know, it's entirely possible that you go all the way back to the base and that the enemy team just isn't there. But you do need to go back if you think that it's a possibility that that's how you can lose. And so that's all that I really wanted to point out from that. So I hope that was helpful. Thanks for watching.